The Jewish Agency. It's a simple name, but a powerful organization used to reestablish the state of Israel and bring the Jewish people back home. Take a look. Founded in 1929, the Jewish Agency predated the modern state of Israel by 19 years. Some say it's an organization created by God, using men to fulfill His purposes. Today, one of the main missions of the Jewish Agency is still to bring the Jewish people back to the land. And seeing Jewish people return is like watching Bible prophecy unfold. Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel all speak of the Jewish return to the land. Jewish Agency Chairman Natan Sharansky told new immigrants they had fulfilled the dream of generations.
Only think for a moment, each of you, about your fathers, your grandfathers, your great-grandfathers, all those generations of your families of Jews who were dreaming and praying next year in Jerusalem. And you did it.
The Jewish Agency's mission? Inspire Jews worldwide to connect with their people, heritage, and homeland, and empower them to build a Jewish future and strong Israel. CBN's Gary Lane spoke with the current director of the Jewish Agency in our Virginia Beach studios.
Right. Alan, thank you for being with us. So where are most of the Jews coming from that are coming to Israel?
It's a pleasure to be here, first of all. And, you know, the Jewish Agency has brought 4 million Jews to Israel since the state was created. And in every period, there are different groups of Jews who need to be brought to Israel or who wish to be brought to Israel. So whereas in the early years of the state, we brought 120,000 Jews from Iraq and several 100,000 Jews from Morocco and many of the countries of North Africa. In the last 25 years, the Jewish Agency brought 1 million Jews from the former Soviet Union. And even today, close to 16,000 Jews come from Russia and from the Ukraine. More and more what we're seeing is young professionals who believe that there's no future under Mr. Putin, or who come from the eastern parts of the Ukraine where they're still fighting in conflict, also related to Russia. And so we have an ongoing stream of close to 15,000 Jews who come from Russia and from the Ukraine and from the former Soviet Union altogether. More recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a very strong stream of Jews coming from Europe, particularly from France, after a wave of anti-Semitic incidents, terrible terrorist attack in Toulouse at a Jewish school. The following year, 2015 and 2016, we saw close to 8,000 French Jews coming to Israel. That's 8,000 Jews out of a total population of 500,000. In 1 year, that's a very big percentage.
And there have been more attacks just recently in France. In Paris, just a little over a week ago, we saw an elderly woman who survived the Holocaust. I think she was 85 years old. She was brutally murdered.
Brutally murdered.
Yeah.
So I should say that after the Bataclan attack, which is almost 2 years ago on the nightclub in Paris, the French government responded by bringing army into Jewish institutions. And I think for about a year there was a sense of security, and the immigration went down a bit from 8,000 a year to about 6,000 a year. But one of the things that we're noticing, particularly in the last couple of weeks, and this is true about Europe in general, there's concern in Hungary, there's concern in France, there is a concern of a new and very ugly wave of anti-Semitism sweeping Western Europe, and I think that we will see more Jews coming to Israel.
Well, what kind of stories are you hearing from those who do come to Israel?
We hear of Jewish children being taunted in public schools. There's a big push of families who would like to get places that don't exist in Jewish schools. And so families say, if this is what the future is going to look like, I don't think that this is what I'd like to see for my children. And we see many, many young people making a decision to leave. A large number of them decide to come to live in Israel.
So what do you do for them then, those that are coming from France, more coming from France now, also other places in Europe? What do you do for them when they come to Israel?
So I think one of the things that is a truism, and I think any of your viewers who was an immigrant will know, is that it's not just making the decision to migrate, it's the initial absorption that makes all the difference. And so the Jewish Agency for Israel has not only brought 4 million Jews to Israel, but we run a network of absorption centers through Israel. 17, we do this in cooperation with the government of Israel, where we offer immigrants a corridor in which they learn Hebrew, they're given coping skills. In some cases, let's say Ethiopian immigrants who have come from a third world country, we help them to acquire a trade or a profession. I'm not sure whether you know, I'm sure you remember, that the very first law on the books of the State of Israel was the law of return. Any Jew who says they want to come into the State of Israel has the absolute right to become a citizen. There's no country that has a law like that on the books, but it gives us, the state and the Jewish people, a great responsibility in terms of how to integrate those people.
Well, Alan Hoffman, we appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us a little more about this rising anti-Semitism in Europe and what you're trying to do for those who are coming to Israel.
So it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I should say this is the week before the 70th birthday of the State of Israel, the 70th birthday of Israel's independence. And I think that one of the biggest assets for the State of Israel is the support of Christians around the world who believe in Israel and believe in the fulfillment of the biblical prophecy.
Okay, thank you, sir, from the Jewish Agency for joining us today.
Thank you.
God bless you.